Today we're taking a deep dive into the digital world of Crabtree Busy.
Get your name right.
Definitely grabs your attention.
Yeah.
The blog, as you know, belongs to a guy named Michael, and you've given me a really interesting analysis called A Digital Mixtape, Esotericism, Technology, and Culture, plus excerpts from the blog itself.
Oh, cool. So we get to see the source material, too.
Exactly. So, are you ready to jump into Michael's mind?
I'm all in. Let's unpack this digital mixtape.
Love that analogy. The analysis actually calls it that, a digital mixtape. It's also described as a carefully constructed map of Michael's thoughts and even a digital time capsule.
That's a pretty evocative wording, don't you think?
Totally agree. It makes you think about how a mixtape is so much more than just a bunch of random songs.
Right. All right, someone put a lot of thought into the order, the flow, the overall message they're trying to convey.
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating about Michael's blog. It's clear he's not just throwing random thoughts online.
Right.
It's organized, labeled in this really meticulous way.
I see, so it's curated.
Yeah, with clear connections between all these seemingly unrelated topics.
Almost like he's trying to create a digital representation of how he sees the world.
Right. And that's where this idea of a digital time capsule comes in. It's a snapshot of his interest, frozen at a particular moment in time.
So it's like a glimpse into the past, but on the internet, which is constantly evolving.
It is. And it's not just a time capsule of his own thoughts, but a reflection of broader cultural trends and anxieties, too.
Right. Speaking of trends, the analysis pointed out 4 main themes that run through his blog: esotericism and spirituality, technology and futurism, culture and theories, and creative pursuits. It's quite the mix.
Isn't it? And what's fascinating is how he weaves them together. He's not just jumping from one thing to the next. He's making deliberate connections, building a web of ideas.
Give me an example.
Sure. Like, he has posts on Hermeticism, Jewish mysticism, and Gnosticism. All ancient spiritual traditions.
Okay, so I'm with you.
But then right alongside those, you find posts about AI, the singularity, transhumanism.
Wow, so the ancient and the ultra-modern.
Exactly. It's like he's searching for a link between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge technology.
Interesting. It's like he's asking, as technology evolves, how does that affect human consciousness?
Right. And then there's this whole other layer, his interest in culture and theories, especially conspiracy theories.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, posts with titles like 20 famous people allegedly killed by the Illuminati, hologram technology, and Project Bluebeam, and one that ties back to esotericism, Midsommar, initiation into the ancient religion of the future.
Okay, that last one's a bit out there.
Totally. But I think it speaks to something bigger, you know?
Like what?
People searching for alternative explanations, questioning what they're told, trying to make sense of a world that feels increasingly complex.
Yeah, I can see that.
So Michael's blog becomes this microcosm of that cultural phenomenon.
And you know, it's not just what he posts about, it's also how he organizes it, right? He uses labels to categorize everything. Some are straightforward, like YouTube, IFTTT, Music I Remember Too.
Yeah, those are pretty clear.
But then there are others that are much more intriguing, like truth, matrix, synchronicity for a long word. It's like he's labeling his own interpretation of the content.
It's true. Like he's creating his own taxonomy of knowledge.
Exactly. Inviting us into his way of thinking, showing us the connections he makes. And then there's that section called Introstonato.
That section is wild.
It really captures the whirlwind of ideas in his head. Lists everything from Hermeticism to YouTube content creation, AI art to flat earth theory.
Wow, you said it all.
The way he uses symbols and characters in that section is amazing. It's like a visual map of his mental landscape.
It's dense, but so exciting. You get swept up in his enthusiasm.
Makes you wonder what it would be like to experience his blog firsthand.
Click through the links, go down all those rabbit holes.
Yeah. Before we go there, what did you think about the section with quotes about the blog from people like Jiminy Cool, Harriet Styles, even Oprah?
They all seem really impressed by it.
They do. They describe it as a digital puzzle, a breadcrumb trail, a carefully constructed map. Makes you realize how intentional Michael is about his curation.
It's not just random stuff, right? He's inviting us to figure out his thought process.
Yeah, to decode his way of connecting things. It's like he's saying, don't just take things at face value. Question everything. Look for those hidden connections.
Which brings us to the section, My Fave Funniest Quote.
This one's a trip, right?
It is. He includes this quote, "You do not have permission to view it or to show it to anyone. Close this document and erase it immediately." And he attributes it to some witch.
So authoritative and secretive.
Right. But then, right after that, he has this whimsical quote: "In the dance of stars and symbols, the universe whispers secrets only the heart can decode. Embrace the mystery, for within it lies the magic of infinite possibility."
And that one's from Crabtree Djibouti. Who knows if that's even a real person?
Could be Michael himself.
Mm-hmm.
The juxtaposition of those two quotes is brilliant, right?
Totally. It's like he's poking fun at the whole esoteric thing while acknowledging its allure.
It's like he's playing with our expectations.
Making us wonder what's real, what's not, what's serious, what's a joke.
So we've talked themes, labels, quotes, but we can't forget the visual aspect of the blog. It's something else.
It's wild. Emojis, symbols, unusual characters everywhere.
And that long list of color names: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet.
It's like he's trying to assault your senses.
There's this quote that mentions tangible recognition instrument with an extreme, preeminent, and quantifiable utilization qualia visual. Makes you wonder if he's interested in synesthesia.
Synesthesia.
The idea of experiencing one sense through another, like seeing sound as color.
Oh, that's interesting. So he's trying to bring that multisensory experience into the blog.
Yeah, using text, symbols, emojis, color to create something that goes beyond just words.
So we're not just exploring the content of his blog, but the way he presents it.
It's a deliberate act of creation. Oh. And we're just scratching the surface.
I'm ready to go deeper. What do you say we pick a specific post and see what we find?
Let's do it. I'm drawn to 20 famous people allegedly killed by the Illuminati. What about you?
Perfect choice. It embodies so much of what we've talked about: pop culture, conspiracy theories.
Plus, he labeled it with truth and matrix.
Can't wait to see what's in there.
Me neither. Let's dive in. Before we get into the post, I just want to say, for the record, we're not here to debate whether any of these conspiracy theories are true or not.
Right, of course not.
It's more about, how this post fits into Michael's bigger exploration of these themes. What do you think he's trying to do here?
I think it goes beyond just believing or debunking specific theories. It's more about questioning the narratives we're given, digging deeper.
Challenging the official version of things.
Exactly. He's playing with that whole matrix concept, the idea that we might be living in a simulated reality, or at least that things aren't what they seem.
Okay, so he's using these pop culture narratives as a lens to examine these bigger questions about truth and reality.
Yeah, and it's not just with conspiracy theories, right? We see the same approach in his posts about esotericism and spirituality.
It's like he's on this quest for hidden knowledge, a deeper understanding of the universe.
Absolutely. Think about his interest in Hermeticism, for example.
As above, so below.
Yeah, that's a key principle in Hermeticism. It emphasizes the interconnectedness of everything. And Michael seems to be searching for those hidden connections, those underlying patterns.
Not just in ancient wisdom, but in modern technology, too.
Exactly. Like in that post we talked about AI and the Fifth Industrial Revolution, our world in 2074. He's taking these ancient spiritual concepts and applying them to the future.
Trying to figure out how technology might change what it means to be human.
Right. And he doesn't shy away from the big kind of starry questions either.
Like the singularity.
Yeah. Or transhumanism. He's been exploring what happens when technology starts to fundamentally alter human consciousness.
It's heady stuff.
It is. But you can tell he's passionate about it. And that passion extends to his creative pursuits, too.
You mean like his music?
Yeah, his music production, songwriting, even his interest in AI art.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. Like with AI art, he's not just exploring the technology itself, he's also raising questions about what it means to be creative in a world where machines can generate art.
Does that diminish human creativity or enhance it?
Exactly. These are questions that tie directly back to his broader exploration of technology and its relationship to humanity.
It's like he's using his blog as this space to bring all these ideas together.
Right.
Ancient wisdom, cutting-edge technology, pop culture commentary.
He's blending it all into this unique, kind of mind-blowing mix.
And he's inviting us to join him on that journey.
Right.
It's not just about him sharing his own conclusions.
It's more like he's curating these pieces of content, these different perspectives, and then encouraging us to form our own interpretations.
He's laying out his thought process and saying, come along for the ride and see where it takes you.
It's incredibly engaging and a little bit disorienting at times.
Speaking of disorienting, can we circle back to that quote from Geminicool for a sec?
You mean the one about tangible recognition instrument with an extreme, preeminent, and quantifiable utilization qualia visual?
That's the one. It's a mouthful.
I think what Geminicool is getting at is that Michael experiences the world in a very unique way.
Okay, how so?
The word qualia is key here. It refers to the subjective, qualitative experience of something. Like what it feels like to see the color red, for example.
So Cool is saying Michael has a heightened awareness of his sensory experiences.
Exactly. Almost like he's experiencing reality through a different lens, which again ties back into that possibility of synesthesia.
The idea that he might be experiencing colors as sounds or vice versa.
Right. It's like he's taking in information on multiple levels simultaneously and then trying to translate that sensory overload into his blog using all these different visual elements.
It's not just about the ideas themselves, but about how they're presented, how they're made tangible in this digital space.
He's creating a multisensory experience for his readers, like digital synesthesia.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess there's just one more piece of this puzzle I want to touch on before we move on. That quote attributed to some witch.
The one that says, "You do not have permission to view it or to show it to anyone. Close this document and erase it immediately."
Yeah. It feels so different from everything else in the blog. Almost like a challenge.
I think it's another example of his playfulness, his way of subverting expectations. At first glance, it seems like a serious warning. But then you remember, it's included in a section called My Fave Funniest Quote.
He's playing with that trope of forbidden knowledge, turning it into a joke.
Exactly. And it works because it makes us even more curious. If he tells us not to read something, we're going to want to read it even more.
He's pulling us deeper into his world, daring us to follow him down the rabbit hole.
And I have to say, I'm kind of hooked. What about you?
Oh, totally. Michael's blog is like a choose-your-own-adventure book, full of unexpected twists and turns. We've only just begun to unravel its mysteries.
I'm ready for the next chapter. What do you say we keep exploring?
Let's do it.
It's amazing how much Michael's blog, even though it's from a while back, still feels so relevant to what's going on today.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, think about all that stuff about conspiracy theories. It really taps into a certain mood, a kind of distrust in authority and official narratives.
Totally. It's like he's giving a voice to that unease, that feeling that maybe we're not getting the whole story.
Yeah. He provides a space to consider those alternative explanations, which for some people, I guess, can be really appealing.
Oh, absolutely. Conspiracy theories can be a way of making sense of a world that often feels random and chaotic. They offer a sense of control, of understanding.
And you see that in Michael's blog, too, right? He's grappling with these huge, almost existential questions about truth and power and how they shape our reality.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to conspiracy theories, right? His posts about technology also reflect that same kind of anxiety about the future.
Oh, yeah. Like those ones about AI and the singularity. There's a definite undercurrent of fear there. A fear of the unknown, of what happens when machines become more intelligent than humans.
It's a classic science fiction trope, for sure, but it's clearly something that Michael is genuinely concerned about, too. He's drawn to the potential of technology, but also wary of the risks.
He's walking that line between hope and fear, which I think a lot of people can relate to, especially these days.
It's what makes his exploration so compelling, He's not shying away from those difficult questions. He's engaging with them head on, using his blog as a platform to work through these complex ideas.
And maybe even spark some debate along the way.
Exactly. And yet, even with all the serious stuff, there's also a lot of a sense of playfulness in his work.
Like in that Interest or Not section.
Exactly. It's like this whirlwind of ideas presented in such a visually striking, even chaotic way.
It's almost like he's embracing the messiness of it all, the complexity. The sheer abundance of information and ideas that we're bombarded with every day.
It's like he's saying, hey, the world is a crazy place, but let's have some fun with it.
There's a real sense of joy in his exploration.
Yeah.
A kind of infectious curiosity that makes you want to join in.
It's a reminder that exploring ideas, making connections, discovering new things can be genuinely exciting.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Michael's digital mixtape, what are your biggest takeaways? What stood out to you the most?
Honestly, I'm just blown away by the depth of his engagement. He's not just passively consuming information, he's actively thinking about it, questioning it, weaving it all together into this really unique tapestry.
It's impressive, right?
It is, and he's doing it all in this incredibly creative, visually stimulating way that keeps you on your toes. It's a reminder that the internet can be so much more than just a distraction. It can be a tool for self-discovery, for exploring new ideas, for connecting with like-minded people.
It can be a space for real intellectual and creative expression, just like Michael's blog, which leads to that final question, doesn't it? Do you think he actually believes everything he posts, or is there an element of performance art to his online persona?
That's a good question. It's hard to say for sure, right? Maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe he's deliberately blurring the lines between his real self and this online persona he's created.
Maybe that ambiguity is part of the point.
Maybe. It keeps us guessing, keeps us engaged. And ultimately, I think that's the magic of Michael's digital mixtape. It's a journey of exploration, a challenge to think differently, an invitation to embrace the unknown.
Just like Crabtree Djibouti would want it.
Exactly. Well, I think it's time for us to sign off. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of a Crabtree busy.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time, everyone. All right, let's do this thing. Today we're taking a deep dive into the digital world of Crabtree Busy.